We will be beginning in 1 minute. Welcome and thank you for joining our presentation, Putting the Power of POS to Work for Your Restaurant in the Age of COVID, brought to you by Clover and Clarion Food and Beverage Events. Before we get started with our discussion, we would like to share some housekeeping items to keep in mind. All audience members are on listen-only mode, which means you are muted. We will be monitoring audience engagement on the dashboard and do encourage you to use the question panel to ask our speakers questions throughout the presentation. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the presentation as well. Please note this webinar is being recorded and will be available online in the coming week. In today's webinar, you'll hear from Big Mama's Kitchen, Hopportunities, and Clover, of course, with moderation by Toby Malbec from ConStrata Technology Consulting. Now, without further delay, let me introduce you to Toby Malbec.
Lauren, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you all joining us this afternoon. We have an interesting panel for you to talk about. Really a little bit about the past, a little bit more about the present, but more importantly about the future for these small to medium-sized restaurant owners. My name is Toby Malbec. I am the Managing Director of ConStrata Technology Consulting. And in our role, we typically deal with larger organizations, and that's why this is so compelling, is that the restaurant industry went through some very difficult times in 2020, but no more so hit hard were the small to medium-sized restaurants that didn't have some of the resources that some of the larger restaurants had. $899 billion was the valuation of the restaurant industry going into 2020, and $659 billion was the value coming out. A loss of $240 billion worth of net worth the restaurant industry incurred in 1 year. And most of that was borne by the small to medium-sized restaurants. It's no surprise then that the National Restaurant Association predicts that 110,000 restaurants will not reopen as a result of COVID. These numbers are staggering, and anybody who hasn't seen them or hasn't paid attention to them doesn't really realize the implications of what has occurred in the industry over the last 12 months. And it's not over yet, as we continue to see closures and other issues impacting the industry. So as a small to medium-sized restaurant, what are the options? Well, we're here to give you some hope today. I have the pleasure of having on my panel today two not only survivors, but thrivers from the COVID-19 situation, people who understood the value of good operations, reaching out to the community, technology, and leveraging the value of what they had in place. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let me introduce you to the panel. First of all, we have Gladys Harrison. Gladys is the owner of Big Mama's Kitchen, and in a minute I'm going to let her tell her story about that Omaha, Nebraska landmark. Secondly, we have John Macantangay, and John, I knew I was going to screw it up, and I apologize.
Great.
John is the owner of Hopportunities down in Delray Beach, Florida. Interesting story, because as John will tell you here in a minute, what he planned to open early in 2020 took a massive turn to the left, and boy, he's had to make some major adjustments in his business model. And finally, we have with us Cameron Garcia, and Cameron is the Senior Product Manager for Clover. And the thing that both Gladys and John have in common is they've got Cameron on speed dial. And Cameron, as the product manager for Clover, has been very involved with the success, really the success of both of these organizations, as well as countless others. And Cameron has taken the time to be with us today, so thank you. So Gladys, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Big Mama's Kitchen and what makes you so special. And then we're going to get into some of the challenges that you faced over the last year.
Thank you, Toby, for inviting me to be here today. And Cameron, it's good to see you, and John, good to see you too. And welcome my fellow restaurant owners. Big Mama's Kitchen and Catering is a soul food restaurant located in Omaha, Nebraska. Yes, there is soul food in Nebraska. We don't have just beef here. We opened 14 years ago. The restaurant was opened by my mother. Big Mama was my mom. and my mother loved to cook and she loved to feed people. She was 65 years old when we opened up the restaurant. We originally opened up in what used to be an old school. So our restaurant was located in a cafeteria of an old school. Like I said, we've been here 14 years. We've had the privilege to be featured on the Food Network and the Cooking Channel and the Travel Channel. And, you know, we've become somewhat of a staple here in Omaha, and we're known for our oven fried chicken and sweet potato pie ice cream.
Awesome, Gladys. And boy, we'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you probably faced as a result of, you know, obviously the last year or so. John, tell us a little bit about Hopportunities.
Always get hungry after Gladys speaks. I don't know why. Opportunities. So Opportunities, we opened up, our grand opening was February 1st, 2020. So a little bit over a year ago. We are Delray Beach's, or even South Florida's, first self-serve craft beer and wine bar. We were kind of inspired. I was inspired during a trip to San Diego where I saw a similar concept. And me, I'm a very communal person. I like trying different things, and this gives people the opportunity to try all sorts of different craft beer from all over our country. We deal mostly with beer, cider, wine, and seltzer, and we deal with a lot of the smaller breweries. So anything that is mom and pop owned, independently owned. This wall behind me are all Florida beers or Florida independent breweries. So all small businesses that we're supporting out there through COVID.
Amazing. So to that end, John, let's start with you. I mean, starting February 2020, the pandemic, it would hit no later than what, a month or two later, and would just completely change your business model. What do you do?
So essentially, when we opened, you know, I'm actually an insurance agent. I own an insurance agency. That's my primary business, and I decided to open up. The idea for Opportunities came in 2018, and we quietly opened, soft opened, end of November 2019, so we can get our feet underneath us, learn the system, learn the model, and we were 100% on-premise drinking. So you pour your beer here, you drink your beer here, you go home. And in 2000, obviously, we grand opened February 2020. Everything, like, it was almost like you're shot out of a rocket ship. We were doing very well, better than expected. We actually were in the green for February and even March, operating wise, until obviously everything got shut down. So we had to pivot and pivot quickly. And our first reason for switching over to Clover during that time frame, I think we switched to Clover within the first 30 to 45 days of the pandemic, is because it's something simple. We used to hold on to everyone's license and credit card so they wouldn't walk out with their tab. And Clover gave us just the option to pre-authorize. So that was the first reason. But little did we know that we were going to be closed for a lot more than 30 days. So we were able to use Clover to start with throwing all these beers in cans and selling them retail, and having the ability to use not only Clover but bridging to Equid, because Clover we realized had a very open platform. So we were able to bridge out to other apps to help sell our beer online for to-go, for shipping within the state of Florida, and then also for just events. We would do virtual events that we would sell, and Clover helped facilitate that. But yeah, no, that's kind of what we did, is we went from strictly on-premise to off-premise and virtual events.
Amazing. And in such a short period of time, you were able to pivot that way. So talk a little bit, Gladys, 2/3 of sit-down restaurants are now in some form of financial distress, 2/3. So what have you been able to do to keep the lights on and to be able to keep your business going during this time?
Well, just like John was saying, you know, January and February of last year were great months for us. We had just moved to a brand new location, and we were on record to have the best quarter that the restaurant ever had. And then March 15th came, and that's when we noticed the coronavirus started to affect everybody here in Omaha, Nebraska. And we were a restaurant, you know, Big Mama's was a destination. It was a whole experience, you know, coming to Big Mama's. Our restaurant is located in North Omaha. It's one of the older part of the cities. It's very rich in history. It's a part of the city that's largely populated by African Americans. So, coming to Big Mama's was a destination, and we were a place where you want to come and sit down and you hang out for a while and you talk to people. Well, the coronavirus changed all of that. We had to completely pivot from being, a sit down, family style kind of restaurant to figuring out how are we going to do takeout, how are we going to let people order online? And we had to, like John said, pivot very quickly. We closed all of April because everything kind of shut down here in Omaha, and we opened back up in May, and that was largely due to PPP money, and then Clover having the ability for us to make that pivot. We had to figure out how to do takeout. We had to-go boxes before, but it was just to put your food in that you couldn't eat, sitting with us. We did not have a huge to-go offering or market, but we had to change our menu. We had to change how we package the food. And, thank God for Clover that they gave us the ability to make those changes quickly. And like John said, one of the great things about Clover is Clover doesn't force you to just do business with them. You got to have our products, you got to use our apps. They're smart in allowing their product to work with other apps. And so Big Mamas, we had been using Equid, and we expanded what we used Equid for. And I'm a huge fan of the app called Davo to pay your taxes. There's an online app that we also use for catering. We got other equipment so that we could do contactless transactions with the customer. And Clover was just there. Every idea I had, I called my Clover guy and he'd be like, yep, there's an app for that, or yep, we have equipment for that. So having this POS system really allowed us to be able to move and pivot. Every idea I came up with, there was a way for Clover to help me execute it.
That's awesome. So Cameron, obviously, unless Clover had a crystal ball, COVID-19 hit you guys just like everybody else. So tell us about what it was like being on your side, because all of a sudden now you've got the responsibility of all these small to medium-sized businesses looking to you for help. Tell us take us through those early days.
Sure. Just like Gladys and John had to pivot and think quickly on their feet, so did Clover, and to figure out how to provide solutions to our hundreds of thousands of merchants that we support. We quickly realized that we needed to offer something for online ordering, something that was, not expensive, actually free, something that was easy to set up and could be managed from a central location, your Clover device. And we did that. Within 3 weeks, we completely organized the company to drop everything that we were doing and build an online ordering platform, one that, integrated with your point of sale in your kitchen, one that displayed your items in an appropriate manner to your consumers, and one that you could leverage without any additional cost. So, since we've launched, we've onboarded, thousands of more merchants. We just hit our $100 million in revenue processed yesterday, actually, with under a year. And we got great feedback from both our merchants and our consumers that these tools are making a difference, helping them offer this transition from purely dine-in to also having a new channel for takeout, for example, offering this tool to use it for in-store contactless dining, which I'm sure we'll get into eventually. But yeah, overall, we had to just pivot quickly and just redirect a massive cruise ship, if you will, in a different direction.
That's amazing. That really is. It's interesting. I've been in the restaurant industry my entire life, either consulting or operating, and I've always said that restaurateurs shouldn't need to know technology. They're in the restaurant business. We'll take care of the technology. But Gladys, listening to you go on about, and this technology ties to this technology, sounds like you've had to learn an awful lot about technology in the last 12 months.
I am the least technologically smart person probably on this panel, but that was the great thing about Clover is they make it so easy. I mean, they make it so easy. I have to have my grandson tell me how to use my cell phone. But Clover really does a great job of, like I said, making things easy. You know, we didn't have an online platform. If you came prior to COVID, if you wanted Big Mamas, you had to either come to us to order it, or you could call us on the phone, you know, to order, but we didn't have a online ordering presence. And you know, with Clover, we had that ability, and we still have that ability for our customers, you know, to order online. And for a while there, you know, all of May, June, July, August, you know, all of our orders, September, October, were coming in, 80% of them through online ordering. So, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, purchasing my Clover station was one of the smartest business decisions I've ever made, and it's still true. And had it not been for us having that Clover station, I know we would have been able to make that pivot. You know, one of the things that we had to do, because I told you our restaurant is located in North Omaha, and most of our customers come from outside of our community. You know, we just had to think of creative ways that we could get people our products. And one thing that we wanted to do was to be able, you know, a lot of people were affected by COVID, and we all know this, you know, and some people, you know, got laid off of their jobs, you know, or their hours got reduced. And we wanted to provide our community a means to be able to enjoy a good meal and it be affordable. And so we came up with a line of take and bake items. You know, we do all the prep work, you take it home and eat it. And for 18 to 20 bucks, you can feed a family of 4. You know, again, Clover allowed us to be able to expand who we offered that to by being able to offer, you know, that line of products online. And, you know, you said that, you know, Big Mamas was a survivor, you know, and yeah, we made it through 2020, but it was hard. It was, you know, hard. There were so many challenges, you know, that we had due to COVID, but having our Clover station, you know, really gave us the ability to take a horrific situation, you know, a bunch of lemons, and we made some lemonade. It was pretty good lemonade too.
There you go. Yeah, I remember, Gladys, you told a great story when we first chatted about when you first opened the restaurant, or when you first took over the restaurant. You had some old point of sale system that you couldn't even find anybody still alive knew anything about it, and how impossible it was to program. I mean, that was a great story. So
Yeah.
sounds like you've
So,
modernized to,
well,
yeah.
we've made the transition. When we opened back in 2007, we had a sharp cash register, you know, that I had to key in all the PLUs to program it. And probably about 5 years after that, we purchased a used POS system. And I didn't know anything about POS systems, but the one that I bought was probably 10 years old when I got it. You know, it was old and antiquated. For me to get to figure out how much we sold that day, I would have to put in this little SD card into the POS system and download the information, and then take it back to my computer and run this macro in Excel to get all the information. It would literally take me an hour to find out how many pieces of chicken we sold today, for real. And so, like, no, December 2018, something happened to the system, and it wasn't working. It was Christmas time. We were super busy. So I called the company I bought it from. The gentleman who used to work, do the repairs for me, retired. Nobody else knew how to fix it. They had to call him out of retirement to come and fix the POS system for me. I don't even want to tell you how much it cost me to get it fixed. But that was the last straw. You know, I thought I got to do something different. And I was in a local store that sells food to restaurant equipment, and the Clover representative, Justin, who I just love, he was in there, you know, trying to sell the system. And I kind of walked past him, and, you know, he's like, you know, are you a restaurant owner? I'm like, yeah. But anyway, Justin sold me into getting Clover, and I was thinking about going with another company at the time, who was way more expensive. But I am so glad that I went with Clover, you know, because it's affordable. In the restaurant industry, some days sales are good and some days they aren't, but Clover has been extremely affordable for us. I didn't have to put $3,000 or $4,000, up front to buy it. And I just love the flexibility that it gives me. I'm here at home today, and whatever I need to do with our system, I can do it from here. If I need to know how many pieces of chicken we sold in the last hour, I can go log in on my dashboard and tell you how many pieces of chicken we sold in the last hour. If my daughter calls me up and say, hey, I felt like making a pineapple upside down cake today, can you load up the POU for me? I can do all that from here. And that alone, the time that it's given me back, having Clover is more valuable than anything, because my time is my most valuable possession.
No doubt. So, John, you had mentioned that, really out of desperation, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but, you jumped on Clover because you didn't have to get the credit card. What other functionality and technology do you now use as part of the whole suite? And do you share with Gladys some of the benefits of integrating with other systems, and how have you leveraged those?
Definitely. And I think just hearing Gladys talk, it kind of clicked in my brain, especially during lockdown and quarantine, where we were kind of having to change our business model and kind of evolve and do things outside the box to generate revenue. I feel as though implementing stuff via Clover, implementing whatever we were trying to do, it was never the challenge. That was like almost the easy part, I guess, if that makes sense to you. It was everything else. Putting everything else together was kind of the difficult part. But as far as implementing it, whether it be, we sold packaged cans and bottles, dealing with inventory, linking up with Equid as well to do online sales, managing inventory, creating events that we would sell. We used to do these like virtual beer tastings. We still do them now with private companies. We do like their Zoom happy hours. We'd host them. But yeah, from now that just listening, we've done this for weeks and we've talked about it, but it just finally clicked, all the pain points that we did have during the lockdown and all the stuff that we had to change and update and move to, whenever it involved our POS system, I think it was just very easy, because if Clover couldn't do it, there's a nice little suite where you can just search and you could find an app that they had or a third-party app that kind of works. Right now we have it linked with our Gusto, our payroll. My guys use 7 shifts to clock in and out. We're going to implement 7 tasks in there as well. So everything's going to be in one place for everyone to, opening procedures, closing procedures, clocking in, clocking out, now that we're up and running. But I think that's one of the biggest things. It can get very frustrating as an individual when you're kind of working on something that you're not, I'm an insurance agent. I'm not a technology guy. I'm not a restaurateur, even though I am now. And it could be a lot of frustrating and pain points when you can't find an answer. And I feel as though that because of that open platform, there's always an answer. And then also, I think I'm sure Cameron will agree that seeing people using certain services allows Clover to hone in on those services and bring us things like online ordering or pictures on the online ordering and other cool stuff that he shared with us in the past. So I think, yeah, having that in exchange of information between other apps is huge for us, because like I said, I don't need to have my guys go to a time clock to punch in here, or if I have to add another person to payroll, it all integrates. So that's very good. And like I said, for a technology, for what we do with so many moving parts, to make things work that easily or without nearly as much frustration as it seems. Like looking back at this, I'm like, man, I really got off easy when we transitioned, because usually, like I said, especially in the insurance industry, transitioning from one system to another is a very big pain point. So I think I kind of took that for granted. The pain points of the technology conversion was very, very seamless. So that was helpful.
Cool. So Cameron, newsflash, Gladys and John are telling us that integration is important. Obviously, you guys at Clover recognize that you can't be all things to all people. So how do you decide what technology Clover is going to manage and own and create? And how do you pick good partners so that you can deliver to Gladys and John and all the other people that use your solutions a full suite of solutions?
Yeah, I mean, first I'll say that like one of our guiding principles on the Clover product team is that we are really focused on the business owners like Gladys and John, the people who are kind of the CEOs of their business, and they don't have an IT department to hand off these kind of jobs to. You know, they're running their business, they're owning the technology. If they're sick, they still have to come into work that day and make things happen, right? So because of that, we need to make all of our experiences seamless and easy to use and intuitive. And we really have, you know, Gladys and John in mind when we're building our products. Because of that, we work very closely with our merchants. Obviously, we can't talk to everyone, but we tend to meet with, you know, a few merchants every week on our individual teams to figure out what pain points that they're experiencing, what do they need, you know, what are the trends that they're seeing. So we really leverage them as kind of our partners when we're building out the products, because we could build products for people that we think we want to help, but really at the end of the day, we're not solving those real core problems. So by being like in the stores with Gladys and John, we can truly live the days like walk a mile in their shoes, that is, and understand like what needs to be built and what to prioritize. To talk to your question about the partnerships, typically we will hear from like John and Gladys. These are the types of things that I need to do. And you know, can you build this for me right now? And if we can't, that's when we'll go out and we'll actually like work on finding a partner on behalf of the merchants as well.
So part of that partnership program is you're looking at things like whether it's a labor scheduling system John was talking about or inventory system. Are there certain systems that you find and then create partnerships with? Do you listen to your users and then go reach out to those folks? Do you want to share maybe some of those partners?
Yeah, certainly. Man, we have an app market with probably over 1,000 apps available, just like your Apple Store or your Android market. So it's hard to call out specifically any particular partners. I think the home bases of the world, for example, really helpful for managing your shifts and whatnot. As we mentioned, we have partnerships with Equid for other online ordering use cases that we don't typically do, like retail. But you know, we are a open platform, and we constantly are having new partners come to us to integrate, as well as us looking strategically on behalf of our merchants. So it really is one of those things where, you know, the more partners, the better, and we're constantly facilitating those relationships between our developers and our merchants.
So as a technology consultant, I can tell you one of the great values that many people don't really think about for a cloud technology like a Clover is that it can exist anywhere. So it's not tied to the front counter of your restaurant. It can be in a food truck. It can be in another location. You could actually run it on a tablet, right? So Gladys, John, I mean, have you thought about opportunities to kind of move your business to other places, or to do a food truck, or to do some of these other ways to leverage the technology to grow your operations? Uh-oh, John's on the move here.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing a food truck.
All right, excellent.
Yeah, yes.
How about you, Gladys?
So I don't have the desire to do a food truck. However, we do outdoor events, and we've had our Clover, I think, going on 3 years now. And at these outdoor events, prior to having Clover, we never were able to take credit cards. Actually, we did. I had one of those things you would stick in your phone and would never work. But with the Clover Flex, it was just like bringing the whole station, you know, down to the river for Taste of Omaha. You know, we were able to swipe those credit cards, keep better track of what we sold in inventory, because everything that I can do at my, you know, my main station, I could do with the Clover Flex. And even, you know, taking our food, there's a lot of companies here in Omaha that have restaurants come into their office building and sell their food there. you know, with the Clover Flex that gives us the ability to be able to take our restaurant to you. You know, we bring our food to you and I can process, you know, your transactions with the Clover Flex. So, you know, again, Clover has just given us that ability to be able to go after all these different markets and all these different places, you know, where we can sell our products. And I just wanted to make a comment about the different apps, you know, that Clover works with. And there's two that I talk about all the time because they have, you know, Clover was one of the smartest decisions I've made. But the app called Davo, it will collect your sales tax for you and file it and pay it, is number 2 on my list of the best decisions I ever made. And then our online ordering, we use OrderSpoon. And that's because when we started the online ordering, Clovers wasn't out yet. But we use an app called OrderSpoon. And, you know, Clover, Davo, and OrderSpoon, you know, absolutely gave us the ability to make it through 2020. And they're going to give us the ability to continue to change with our customers with what they want, you know. Even though everybody's getting their coronavirus shot and the numbers are going down, there's still going to be people that just are not going to come out to eat again. You know, there are going to be lots of people that don't want to be in a crowded room with folks. But with those tools, you know, that we have available to us, you know, with Clover, we'll still be able to conveniently, you know, at your fingertips, you can order food from Big Mama's and pay for your food, you know, and we bring it out to your car. We'll still be able to conveniently do that for you. And I'm looking forward to some more neat and exciting things for Clover to roll out for us.
And I'm glad you went there because what I wanted to talk a little bit about is, you know, up till now we've talked about how the technology has really served you and helped you to survive or perhaps thrive during a difficult time. How do your customers look at this technology? I mean, obviously we're all very nervous about, you know, whether it's going into a restaurant and, you know, somebody touched the menu before, or what are the salt and pepper shakers? How have your customers responded to the technology that you put in place? Has it been a positive experience, John? I mean, what kind of feedback are you getting from your customers?
Definitely. People did not, pre-COVID, people didn't like us holding on to their license and credit card, but it was something we had to do because we just didn't have an option with our old system to open up tabs and pre-authorize tabs. We can open up tabs, we just couldn't pre-authorize. And for us, a big concern was people just walking out on checks. So that's a game changer on that end. I do know from the feedback we're getting from our customers now when we roll out the food truck, the way we're implementing it is very, very COVID/consumer friendly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so essentially it's because of the interchangeability or the open platform Clover has, it's as easy as scanning, you know, scanning a QR code, placing your order, getting a text when your food is ready, and picking it up at the truck. So you have an A to B transaction with a customer. There's no one else handling the food or their food. Same thing with the beer. No one else handles the food or beer except for the cook, and then straight to the consumer.
Yeah.
So that's what we found to be the most palatable for anyone that's concerned, you know, that's going out, because you know, we still have a lot of customers that we haven't seen come back yet, and customers that are wary of coming back yet. But when they come here with the outdoor space, with our touchless system, and then talking to them about how we're rolling out the food truck, like I said, it was just it took me all but like maybe 5 minutes to figure out how to connect A, B to C, to go from a QR code to an online order to a text message when it's ready. Now that, like I said, it took me like a minute. It finally clicked in my brain how easy everything is, and life's not typically that easy. You know, figuring all the moving parts is typically not that easy, and I think that was something that Clover continues to do. Like I said, and that was a big reason why I chose Clover, is that open platform. I like the ability of partners working together than one company just trying to do everything okay. As opposed to doing one thing right and then using partners that can do things very well.
Yeah. So one of the things that, and you mentioned this before and reiterated again, is, part of this idea of, people don't like you holding on to their credit cards. And at the same point in time, there's always a risk when you're now moving your business from somebody sitting down having a meal or coming in and having a beer and paying it in advance, right? Or saying, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pay you. Cameron, can you talk a little bit about some of the technology in terms of how Clover can protect the restaurants from, perhaps getting a bad card or a stolen card, or making sure that, the payment is good before they make the orders?
Yeah, certainly. I think there's, you can talk about the risks in both the in-store experiences and the online experiences. I think the majority of merchants these days are probably dealing with the ideas of chargebacks through their online ordering. That's obviously something that's kind of been a new threat to merchants. And what Clover does is multiple things. We leverage all of the tools available for fraud detection and prevention. Things like requiring the zip codes for the card holder details, reflecting against what the payment rails are telling us, and then making some intelligent decisions on whether or not we think this is a fraudulent charge or not. For the merchants who do ever have like a chargeback request, the way that we've implemented our transactions and the experience for the consumer is going to give the merchant the most most protection when it comes to those chargeback disputes. They have all of the data available to them to win those fraudulent charges. When it comes to the in-store experience, we have one of the benefits of having the integrated hardware point of sale solution that we have is we have an actual dedicated security board on our point of sales, which the iPad point of sales can't offer. So every single transaction that runs through there goes through a huge list of security checks to ensure that these are non-fraudulent charges, that these are valid credit cards, and that these transactions can't be disputed by chargeback.
That's huge. I mean, it's bad enough that the restaurant industry is struggling to then have chargebacks or fraudulent charges would be even worse. So that's good to know. Gladys, when we first spoke, you brought up something that I thought was really fascinating. I thought maybe you could dive into it a little bit. And that was that you said that your restaurant was in a section of town where it was a somewhat older section of town, and that there was a certain customer that might not go there because of either, the fact that it was in an older section of town or things like that. Now that you do delivery, has that opened up a new opportunity or customer to you?
So we had, so our restaurant, we were a restaurant and a catering service. So we did delivery, but it was strictly, for catering. And of course, due to COVID, we had to open ourselves up to do more things. And so, yeah, you're right. We're in a part of town. We're in North Omaha. It's an older part of town. It was a part of town that had been neglected for many years after the riots of the civil rights movement in the 60s. However, the neighborhood that we're in has been going under revitalization, but there are people that are still, leery of coming to that part of town. So, just having the ability for us to be able to deliver our products to you, no matter where you are in the city, was just, huge. And to be able to do it conveniently and very easy, and I tell people all the time, at our old restaurant, it was in an old school. It was a school for 100 years. There was even equipment we were using there that was 100 years old. And when we moved to the new place, I felt like my new kitchen was the George Jetson kitchen. And I feel the same way about my POS system. Many of our customers were pleasantly surprised when we were able to make that pivot and be able to offer, all of our food online. Everybody does everything on their phone, particularly people that are way younger than me. And just that ability for folks to be able to order our products from the convenience of their phone, I know that there were times that we've missed out on money prior to us doing online, because it was more convenient for me to just click, click, click and place my order than to pick up the phone, have to dial your number, have to wait for you to answer. If you do answer, you know, tell you my order. And if I answer the phone, you had to repeat it twice because I can't hear you on the phone. You know, Clover just gave us that ability to offer our customers the convenience of being able to order your food and not have to talk to anybody.
Great. So quick housekeeping note. We're getting a lot of questions and I'm doing my best to kind of insert them in. If for some reason your question doesn't get answered, with all due apologies, somebody from, from Clover will be sure to answer those for you, especially some of the more specific questions if you are currently a user and have specific questions. But one of the things I'd like to kind of move into now is we've talked a little bit about the effect that COVID had on these restaurants, some of the ways that you guys have reacted and responded. Let's talk about what the future looks like and some of the things that you think you can leverage in the future as part of this whole restaurant technology platform. And as again, we said, we don't want restaurants to be technology geniuses, but obviously there are pieces of technology that can affect your business. Let's talk about loyalty for a second. John, does loyalty have any applicability in your world going forward?
We do. That's something that we've talked about. It was something on our pre-COVID list of items to do with our old point of sale. We haven't quite hit that yet with Clover, but it's definitely on the radar as far as customer loyalty. We definitely try to leverage the email capture that Clover has. We integrate that with our MailChimp account. We kind of have a loyalty type program for our regulars. We have a membership program. But I think eventually, yeah, I've seen it already in the system where, if someone hasn't been in a while, they can get an email for a little discount and things that we can do, whether it be with Equid or just on the online marketplace. Yeah, if we're not seeing the customers checking in or swiping that card, there's ways to reach them if we have their data. So yeah, loyalty is going to be a big part of what we do in the future. We have one little loyalty thing. It's kind of fun. We give out free glassware that's in the shape of a keg of a beer if you drink a keg of beer at Hopportunities. So it's pretty cool. You get this little glassware, you drink 2,000 ounces. But I think, like I said, with the technology, the data, and the ability to talk to all the marketing platforms, the opportunities there. I'm excited to see, once we're ready to roll it out, what we can do and how easily we can do it.
Cameron, give us a look at what loyalty looks like to Clover. Where are you guys going with this?
Yeah, I think loyalty plays a huge part in what we're doing, both in store and online. We're very cognizant of, the relationship that merchants have with the online ordering aggregators and, how costly that can be. And we see that loyalty is a great way to maybe wean people off of the aggregator and onto the Clover system, which is, going to save the merchant a lot of money. So leveraging things like generating points after repeat visits, free items if you're a VIP, for example, owning your data, that's a huge one. When you work with like another aggregator, I'm not going to call anyone out, that data doesn't belong to you, right? With Clover, you get the customer's phone number, their email, the order history that they've ordered with you, and then you can use some of our tools to either like email or SMS them with things to come back into the restaurant, just announcements directly onto the consumer's phone, and all of those things that you can use to just bridge the gap and make sure that people are coming to the acquisition channel, if you will, your online ordering website through Clover or through our mobile app.
Boy, I'm so glad you brought that up because loyalty is not necessarily just about giving away stuff, but it's about recognition, and it is a secret weapon for those restaurants that have had to rely very heavily on third-party delivery, which is an expensive channel. So this is a chance to reach out to your fans and say, hey, help us out here, allow us to be able to be successful without having to pay some very big fees in the middle there. And Gladys, I mean, I'm sure loyalty has a role in your world as well.
One of the reports that comes to me, tells you how many repeat customers you have, and that's not even something I asked for, but it's huge, wonderful information that we can do something with. And one of the apps, and I can't even tell you if it's a Clover one or one that we purchased, but it's got a loyalty program built into it, and it knows when to give the person a discount, whatever, and it's easy. You don't have to think about it. It does it on its own. When it prints off, when they get their receipt, they get a little message, that you get 10% off on your next visit or what have you. So again, Clover just makes it easy. It allows me to be able to do, what I need to do, which is come up with new recipes. And, now that people are coming back in the dining room, being able to spend time with people in the dining room, it lets me focus those things instead of me being in the office for 3 hours, trying to figure out, how I program this new menu item, into the system, or, how do I set up ordering online. It just makes everything so much simpler and easier so that I can focus on, what I need to do, which is the business, and not being an IT person.
No kidding. Cameron, what are some other technologies that Clover's looking at? I mean, are we looking at gift cards? Are we looking at other technologies that John and Gladys can kind of leverage as they move forward here?
Yes, certainly. I think the relationship between the merchant and the customer is where we're looking the most, right? Beyond expanding our loyalty and ability to build a relationship without even giving away things, right? Just communication. Being able to offer delightful experiences in store is also another area where we really are focused. So as our merchants have kind of transitioned from dine-in to takeout and using online ordering, we're focusing on how to bring people back into store and also be healthy and safe and make it efficient for the restaurant. So that's why we've been focused on what we call scan to order. And scan to order is our contactless dine-in ordering experience. So a consumer can use their phone, they can scan a QR code, place their meal. The kitchen will actually receive a ticket printed to them that has the table number that customer is sitting at. They can make the food and walk it right out to the customer. The server is there specifically to facilitate a really good experience and making sure that the customer has a good time. And so we released that during COVID, and we're making more enhancements to that. But that's one of the areas that we feel the most excited about is changing the way that consumers behave in the store and being able to facilitate this healthy and safe dine-in experience.
And it's funny you say that, because as we emerge from COVID here and as we emerge from the pandemic, none of us really know what the customers are going to be like. I think it's somewhat naive to believe that restaurants will just suddenly fill back up with customers. It took us a long time to learn to wear a mask and to understand social distancing. So we don't really know how quickly people are going to go back to the old way. So there'll probably be some combination, as you said, of whether it's, order ahead and then sit down, or perhaps some other hybrids as people get more comfortable with those types of things, and as we go forward. So guys, as we start getting close to wrapping up here, I'm curious about your perspective around technology, the idea of what you thought about technology before COVID. Was it kind of a necessary evil? Did you like it? Was it fun? And how you view technology today, and what role it plays in your world. And John, do you want to go first? I mean, how did you think of technology before COVID hit, and what's the role that it plays now in your business?
So yeah, I'm just going to reiterate what I said all throughout this webinar, because it hit me like a ton of bricks. I love technology. Personally, I love the technology for home use, business use. Whenever I've used it in business, it's always been a pain point as far as transitioning and so on and so forth. And like I said, I don't think minor stuff here and there, but I think the transition and everything we try to implement, it seems a little way too easy, to be perfectly honest. Now that I'm thinking back, I'm like, it was, going from a place that had zero inventory for sale, it was all draft, we managed our kegs on something else, to having thousands of cans to do, and then offering, hundreds of additional products besides pouring beer, besides a bar tab. It shouldn't have gone as fluid as it did, but it did. Like I said, you're so wrapped up in just trying to stay alive during COVID that, like I said, it just hit me like a ton of bricks just now. shouldn't have been that easy to transition. So I'm excited. Even the little tidbits that Cameron gives us here, our last phone call, what's coming with Clover, and the ability to kind of hone in on different things that are already in my brain that I already know that Clover's working on. I think technology, unfortunately, evolution, whether it be through technology or everything else, is going to happen over time.
Mhm.
It's our choice to say, hey, you know what, I like being stuck in the past, or I just need to evolve with society. And I think that's what Clover's doing. At least that's what I feel like they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, technology is it's what it is.
Yeah, John, I let you go the first time when you said that technology had great opportunities because we're looking at opportunities in the back. But now that you said that technology is fluid, I can't let you get away with that one. So technology is fluid with opportunities is what we're going to have to say
Yes,
there as
I
a
can see that beer on the brain.
byline. Gladys, how about you? I mean, obviously technology has, you've, by your own admission, really had a major impact. How do you look at it differently now than you did, say, a year ago?
It's easier. I was always shied away from technology for my restaurant because it was hard. You almost had to be a computer programmer, from back in the day to use it. But now it's just so easy. And I'm not one of those people that can read something and do it or watch something and do it. You have to talk me through things. And what I love about Clover is whether you're a watch video and do it person, or you're a read something and do it kind of person, or like me, like to call and hear someone's beautiful voice as you walk me through how to do this. You have the support you need to be able to use the technology, and it's when I say it's easy, it really is easy. Because like I said, I am not the most savvy person when it comes to technology. But Clover has done a really good job of making their products and services user friendly. And I come from an era, when computers first came out, and you had to, like I said, be a programmer to use it. But um, Clover's really easy to use, really, really easy to incorporate technology into the everyday processes of your restaurant.
Absolutely. So, now we're looking forward, we're looking to come out of this. There are obviously a number of people who have joined us today to listen to your stories and to hear your successes. Some of them may be Clover users, some of them may not use technology at all, but what advice would you give these folks as they look at, the next, year or two? What does 2021 look like, and how can they leverage what's out there? Gladys, you want to go first?
Well, I hope that 2021 brings us back out to be able to gather together.
Me too.
And 2020 taught us that technology is our friend, and that technology is really going to be an integral part of almost everything that we do, including going out to eat. And I think us as restaurant owners, we're going to have to stay on that cutting edge of being able to incorporate technology into our business, so that we can meet the needs of all of our customers. Whether your customer is that person that wants a traditional restaurant experience,
Mhm.
or that person that wants what I call the George Jetson, experience, and doesn't want to come in contact with anybody. We need to be flexible enough to be able to provide an experience, for all of those types of customers. We really do.
I'm so glad you say that, because so many restaurateurs, I think, make the mistake of believing that they set the standard on what guest service is. And guest service is set by, guess what? It's set by the customer. And Gladys, that is so true. I mean, we need to be ready as an industry to be able to respond to whatever the customer wants. And that flexibility needs to be there. John, 2021, what does it look like for you?
2021, well, like I said, for us, it's expansion. And I think my piece of advice is, if there's something that you want to try to execute, at least when it comes to Clover, it's an app marketplace search away. You know, it's a phone call away as far as executing whatever it is you're trying to get done, at least on the technology side of things, as whether it be online ordering, paying sales tax, which I just learned. The opportunities are endless when it comes to what you can execute as a business owner. And I'm sure, you know, if you've thought of something, someone in that restaurant space has thought of it as well. And I'm pretty sure someone in the Clover space or their app marketplace has as well.
I just want to add that Gladys and John kind of show this and have talked about it today, but the merchants that are successful that we've seen are the ones that are thinking about experience, not just in their restaurant when you sit down at a table or you walk up to a counter, but they're thinking about the experience that starts when, you know, your customer is sitting on the couch and they get hungry. Thinking about how they perceive the consumers perceive themselves when they do a Google search of Big Mama's, for example. And once they arrive and pick up the food and take it home and eat it, how does that whole experience look? And I think that's where I would suggest that merchants, now that we're in this new digital era, focus their time and attention.
Right. So really, Cameron, same question for you. How does Clover see the world going forward? You know, obviously there's technologies that you guys are going to work on. You know, I'm sure you're going to continue to perpetuate things like contactless, so people don't have to touch menus if they don't want to, or other technologies. You know, how does the business change? Do you guys expand your business? How does somebody get involved with Clover? How do you guys resell your products? I mean, so much to talk about, but tell us about what 2021 looks like to Clover.
Yeah, there's so much. You know, we're in a growth phase, and we're going to be growing as a company in many areas. One of the areas I'm particularly passionate about is the in-store contactless experience. So being able to use QR codes to get rid of paper menus, to speed up the ordering process, to make orders more accurate, and ensure that, you know, both the consumer, the diner, and the staff at the restaurant are safe. So we talked about scan to order today, and we'll be making big adjustments or big improvements to that to make it a very differentiated and unique experience in the coming months. But we're also going to be focusing on how we can engage with consumers better, how we can help Gladys and John redirect consumers away from the aggregators and into their restaurant, how to leverage the internet to get more business and use it as an acquisition channel as well. And then additionally, and finally, we're going to be going way deeper into restaurants and having much more restaurant-specific features that our merchants tell us that they need. As I mentioned, we talk to merchants every single day, and we're in their pocket. The only reason that we can move so quickly is because we know the pain points that they're telling us, and we're preparing for the themes and the trends that they're bringing to us.
That's awesome. Cameron, thank you for sharing that information with us today. You know, at the end of the day, the restaurant industry is one of the most hospitable industries out there. We are, you know, the heartbeat of what makes, you know, the hospitality industry tick. And COVID was a challenge to everybody on this panel and probably everybody listening. And so I am encouraged with what's going forward. And I as a technologist, I'm thrilled that technology was able to play such a key part in helping so many small to medium-sized restaurants survive. Gladys, John, thank you for your time today. I hope this was fun for you. We appreciate you sharing your insights. Best success going forward. And to everybody on the line, I hope we were able to answer your question. If not, I'm sure Cameron and the team will be more than happy to answer. But for now, let's all go forward and hope 2021 is a blowout year. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Toby, and thank you to our panel. If I could just reiterate, if you submitted a question and we've captured your email address for Clover to respond to you directly, you'll get that shortly. As an attendee and a registrant of this webinar, you will also receive some additional information about Clover, including a white paper coming up in the next few days. So keep an eye out for that. We do appreciate everyone again for joining us. Thank you, John, Gladys, Cameron, Toby, and the Clover team. We appreciate your time, and we hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.